People in Atlantic Canada are being warned to get ready now for a big storm. Fiona is coming with heavy rain and damaging winds.
We're talking about, a lot of rain causing flooding, winds causing potential damages, knocking over trees, breaking tree limbs, that sort of thing. People are out there now preparing, and I think that's the best thing to do. Never take a storm like this lightly, and be ready for it.
This is a look at the storm track this morning. Right now, Environment Canada says Hurricane Fiona is moving towards Nova Scotia, with Atlantic Canada and eastern Quebec forecast to start getting the storm's rain and wind early Saturday. The next update on the forecast is coming this hour. People in the path of the storm are heeding officials' advice to be prepared. Fiona has already caused extensive damage to the Caribbean, and Brett Ruskin joins us now live from Halifax with more details on what people there are doing to prepare. Brett, what's the mood?
Well, John, calm right now in terms of the weather forecast. Not too much wind, not too much rain, overcast skies, feels calm. Calm before the beginning of the storm, before the storm itself, because we are going to have rain tomorrow, and the storm arrives, the hurricane arrives in earnest overnight Friday into Saturday. So people have lots of time to prepare. I was down at the grocery store yesterday, just picking up a couple of things and realized, oh, wait, this is Nova Scotia. Nova Scotians know how to prepare for this type of storm because it was very busy. The store was filled and some of the shelves were beginning to empty. Not any kind of hoarding or anything happening, just people carefully, methodically gathering that 72-hour kit that people need, that officials recommend you prepare in advance of major storms like this in case the power should go out for an extended period of time. Now, there have been a series of news conferences of the last 24 hours or so with different provincial emergency management offices. There's one that took place on Prince Edward Island. Here is PEI's Minister of Justice and Public Safety. Here's what they had to say about the preparation efforts that are recommended for residents.
Right now, we're in a good position. We have time to plan and prepare, and that's what I'm encouraging every resident and visitor to do, to prepare as much as you can. This isn't our first storm, and it won't be our last. We know the drill on some basic preparedness measures. Make sure you have supplies for 3 to 5 days. Charge your devices. Keep things that you'll need together in one place so they're easy to find. Check your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, and practice safe fire precaution actions in your home. And don't forget to check on your family, your friends, and your neighbors.
And so, again, that is from Prince Edward Island. There's also been alerts, notifications, advice from here in Halifax with officials telling people to, clear out your eaves trough, clear off any storm basins or areas that the water would have to flow to because there is significant rainfall expected along with those high winds. John?
So, Brett, sounds like people are beginning to prepare, but let's talk about the last time a storm like this hit the area.
Yeah, it seems like we haven't talked about a hurricane for a while here on the East Coast, and that's kind of the case because last year we saw Hurricane Larry that had major impacts for Newfoundland, not so much the Maritimes, and then before that we saw Hurricane Teddy hit the Maritimes, hit Nova Scotia directly, come up the coast, but there wasn't really significant impact, significant damage caused by Hurricane Teddy, post-tropical storm Teddy at that point, and so far this year during hurricane season, which lasts kind of June to the end of November or so, it has been fairly quiet as well. It doesn't seem like folks are resting on their laurels or being unprepared or assuming that this is going to be a mild storm with not having many storms in the recent past. People do seem to be taking it seriously, even though it has been a quiet season so far. So we'll see if those efforts are maintained, see what the outcome and the impact of this storm is. Again, we will get an update from the Canadian Hurricane Center at around 1 o'clock Atlanta time, noon Eastern. So stay tuned for that.
Brett Ruskin, thank you. Hilary Johnstone's also tracking the storm for us this morning, and she is live in Ottawa. Hilary, let's talk about the damage that Fiona has done so far.
Well, John, as officials in Atlantic Canada tell people there to make sure that they are preparing in Bermuda right now, the message there is that you need to rush your preparations because that hurricane is on its way. There is a hurricane warning now in place for that British overseas territory of Bermuda, expected to really start to cause problems later this evening. But ever since it made landfall in Puerto Rico on Sunday, it has really sort of carved out a huge path of destruction. We know that about about 1 million people in Puerto Rico are still without power. Half a million of them, still don't have water services, which is also quite a concern right now. U.S. President Joe Biden has now approved an emergency declaration for Puerto Rico, which will release even more federal funding to try and help people rebuild, because we know that at least 8 people Puerto Rico have already died because of this storm, including a 4-month-old infant whose mother couldn't get that baby to the hospital. The baby was sick, but roads were blocked. So just to give you an idea that there's that initial storm, but then there's also those lingering effects once infrastructure is damaged as well. Of course, we also know that it hit Turks and Caicos and Dominican Republic, the Dominican Republic on Tuesday as well, leaving a lot of destruction there. But of course, now all eyes on Bermuda as it does get set to hit that island before it makes its way to Atlantic Canada.
Thanks, Hillary. Hillary
Thank you.
Johnstone in Ottawa.